Tempera painting and using a viewfinder. A viewfinder is a simple square or rectangle cut out of paper or cardstock that you can look through. Using a viewfinder helps you focus on something and not get distracted by what's around it. It will help you pay close attention to the image that you are trying to create or help isolate a part of your picture so you can focus on that area. To demonstrate, I'm going to use a beautiful colored pencil drawing created by one of our students here at Festus Elementary. You can spend a little time moving your viewfinder around and looking at different parts of your picture, turning the viewfinder between horizontal and vertical to decide how you want to do your painting and which part of your picture you want to focus on. I'll start drawing the largest shapes first on my paper. I'm going to draw it a little bit lower down because I want to have plenty of room to draw the fairies large. Okay, there's the large shapes. Now I want to make sure that I draw my fairies a little bit larger than I normally would because we have to get a paintbrush in here. I want to leave out any details like faces. After the paint is on and dries, I can always go back in with a Sharpie on top of the dry paint. Let's take a closer look at the colored pencil drawing and the tiny fairies, and notice how much I need to enlarge them for my tempera painting. Remember, I'm going to have to paint it with a brush that is much thicker than the tip of a pencil. Speaking of pencil, here I'm using an ebony pencil. It's a little bit thicker than a regular pencil. You could do your drawing for tempera painting with an ebony pencil, or you could use a Sharpie. Now that my drawing is finished, I have my paints set up. Notice I have my paints, my water, my brushes, a paper towel, and a paper plate. I use the paper plate as a palette, which I use to mix my paints. First, I'm going to choose a brush that I can hold up on its tip and paint some of my smaller things. I'm using the colors that I can get straight out of the paint sets first before I do my color mixing. When I'm painting in a small area, I want to use the tip of the brush, and I really only want the paint on the tip of my brush. I want to press lightly because if I press hard, it smushes the brush down and it makes a big glob. So I want to use a light hand and keep my brush on its toes, so to speak. I'm ready to wash out my brush. I wipe it across the bottom of the bowl back and forth to spread out the bristles and free the paint from the brush. I wipe it dry, making sure it comes clean on my paper towel, and I smooth out the bristles to a point before I begin with another color. Once again, I wash, brushing along the bottom of the bowl. I wipe it dry on my paper towel, check the tip. Okay, I'm good to go again. But I'm going to select a different brush this time because I want to do some larger areas, larger brush. I like to paint along the edges of my large shapes first, going around the inside before I fill in the middle parts and then smooth it out. Smoothing out your paint on a large area is really important. It makes your painting look nice, of course, but it also keeps your painting glob free. If you have globs on your painting, when your paint dries, it can crack, and it just doesn't look very nice with tempera paint. Now it's time to color mix. I'm going to make pink, which is making my red lighter. And so I take white and I take a few little scoops of white on my paintbrush and put it on my plate. I rinse out my brush really good. Remember, brushing the bottom of the bowl, and then wiping it on my paper towel, checking to make sure all of that is off before I dip it into the red. I'm going to dip it into the red and just get a tiny bit of red on my brush. Okay, see, it's just a tiny bit before I mix it in. Now I mix that color in with the white, trying not to spread it out, keeping it on one area of my plate. If I need it to be a little darker, I might have to go back in and get a little touch more of the red. So now I add it into my picture where I want it. I'm going to mix a little purple into my pink and see what that makes. I think I'm going to use that color on my roof and maybe a little bit on the fairy's wings as well. My second fairy is painted regular green. I want to make a yellow green for the edges of the wings, so I took scoops of yellow and mixed a tiny bit of green into it to make the yellow green. I just need to do my walkway, adding a little bit of red to the pink to make it darker. I think I'll be very happy with that. Okay, and I'm very happy with how this turned out. Let's look back at this original drawing, which is beautiful. Notice how there are so many details in it. This is perfect for colored pencil. Just remember, when you want to do a tempera painting, you need to make your things large. So you could take a drawing that you made before and just choose with your viewfinder a little part of that drawing, and you can have a beautiful tempera painting.